Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another session with the older man. Today, my friends, I'm always privileged to just highlight another video by one of my favorite content creators, Dr. Teraban, and his channel is called Psych Hacks. I know a lot of you already follow him, but I just thought I'd highlight this video because once again, he has an amazing, simple way of just highlighting a lot of female BS. And he tackled this subject of female delusion, right?
Signs that you're a 10-10. You ghost without guilt when someone's disrespectful. If someone fumbles you or drops the ball, it's a waste of breath to explain yourself to them. You just let them go. You hold your standards high, and anyone who can't match that, adios amigos. And you're the rejector because you would rather reject someone up front than string them along. You see directness as kindness, not as being mean. You're also not afraid to be a bitch. You've retired being the chill, easy girl because you have high fucking standards. Plus, you're already so empathic and kind that your idea of being a bitch is really just someone who has their back anyways. But you would rather be perceived as a bitch than be walked all over.
And listen, we both know who's the most delusional of the two sexes. He had hosted a podcast with Sadia Khan, and I saw that podcast as well, where she just primarily railroaded him by not even giving him a lot of chances to just say his piece. She just literally just would not shut up, right? So I can understand why he didn't get a lot of his points out. But there was one point that he wanted to make. And you know what? I just thought I would help him spread this point of view because this should have been said during the talk that they both had on, well, you know what? Listen to him and he'll explain it to you. But first, my friends, subscribe, book a session if you have any issues at all that you'd like an older man's opinion on, or if you need any mentorship, if you would like any help with your YouTube channel or any other social media programming, building your business, etc. And of course, pick up my Digital Content Creators Toolkit. But even better yet, pick up the Digital Vault where you have over 8,500 pieces of content to actually start instantly to post online. And of course, if you guys have not been following me for a while, or this is something that you're just first seeing, I have started a petition, worldwide petition, for mandatory paternity tests for every child in every country at birth in order to protect the paternity of the father, in order to protect the child so that she knows that she is living or is being supported by the rightful father, in order to protect men from paternity fraud. All you have to do, my friend, is click on the button or scan this QR code I'm going to put up to the side right here. It will take you to change.org where you can simply click and support the cause. The more signatures we get, you can then take those signatures to your lawmakers and demand that they make these changes so that we can protect more men and children. So now that the public service announcements and the advertisings are done, let's get into Dr. Teraban. Let's hear what he has to say.
So the other day, I had the privilege of sitting down with Sadia Khan on Soft White Underbelly. It was a long time coming. We had been texting for nearly 2 years before we were able to make that happen. In any case, after the talk, as I often do, I reviewed my performance in my mind. And I think I did a good enough job that day. But I also spent the next couple of days wishing I had responded differently to a couple of questions. The wit of the staircase, as the French say. So this episode is designed to supplement some of the words I said in that interview with respect to one issue in particular. At one point, Mark asked us both whether we thought that men or women were more delusional. And Sadia was pretty emphatic. She thought it was men who were more delusional than women. And she went on to talk about how a lot of her older, wealthy male clients actually believed that the young, pretty women who were dating them loved them for who they were and not their 70-year-old money.
I can't see why older men would think that. Most older men know, without a doubt, that these women are not after them because of their amazing body and their beautifully flowing hair and their smooth, dark, tanned skin. No.
Young women are raised by TikTok and social media. Now, a 45-year-old man has grown up in a world that is so unfamiliar to a 22-year-old. And they have absolutely no intellectual intimacy. They've got nothing in common. A 22-year-old will still want to send a meme to a guy that she's dating, or she'll still want to be able to share the same music taste. She has none of that in common with a 45-year-old. So if she's even choosing him, it suggests she's looking for a financial gain. It suggests she's devoid herself of emotional and intellectual intimacy, and she's looking for either financial stability, a father figure, or something other than connection. Because there is no way these two cohorts can connect anymore because of what society's become.
Even my old ass in this body that's not bad is not that delusional. So I can't even imagine that men would think this way, but I can't see how Sadia would think that these men would think like that. I just don't get it. They can pretend that it's so, but any older man with any common sense whatsoever should know that that's not the case. These 30-year-old women don't want their 65, 70-year-old ass just because they're drop-dead gorgeous and they got strong, big muscles. No. No.
If you're 60 and you're a man, okay, as a 60-year-old man, and you want to date someone younger, let's say, this happens a lot, right? You're just attracted to the 25-year-old woman, 30 at a push, but you want a significant age gap. Now, that's okay. But you're going to have to know one thing. She knows you're older, okay? In 10 years, you'll be 70. And in 10 years, she'll be 40. Which, it doesn't make you it's still kind of socially acceptable. I don't know if it's morally correct, unless you enhance her life in some way. Like, there's no way a 23-year-old woman, is going to date a 60-year-old man unless you have money. And that's just the honest truth. Like, you're going to have to pay her some kind of salary, take her out for dinner, make her feel like a princess. But then you see guys, they've had all this work done at 60 and they look fucking good. If they have Botox, they look after themselves. They do look good. But the fundamental thing is here, you're fucking...
Men of wisdom who have achieved that measure of wealth and held on to it to his old age do not have those levels of delusion. So I cannot understand how she could come to that conclusion. But I could be wrong. Let me know if any of you older gentlemen think that the woman out there who just wants you, that younger woman, 20, 25, 30 years younger than you, wants you just because you're hot and you're helping her out with something, or she wants you for your wisdom. Please let me know. Prove me wrong.
And yeah, I would say that's a form of delusion. And Sadia seems to see that a lot, which has a lot to do with the fact that she's working in Dubai at her particular price point, and I think she would freely concede that. In any case, I've mentioned on this channel that the most prevalent male fantasy is the belief that men can be loved for who they are and not for what they do or the value they provide to others. So definitely some alignment there. Now, in the interview, I did push back against this idea that men are more delusional than women, but I wish I had pushed back more forcefully. I've since given the question more thought, and I'm now convinced that women are actually far more delusional than men.
And as someone who's been around the bush and who have wealthy friends who know the truth and who have grown up with men who are now in their later years, who are still pulling in younger women, 20, 25, 30 years younger than them, who has a tremendous amount of wealth, they all know that it isn't because of their good looks and their pot bellies. They know that shit. And you know what? They don't give a shit. As long as they're pulling them in, they don't care. All these men talk about the fact that they are getting them. They don't give a shit why they're getting them. But all of these men know that they gotta come out of pocket, man. Every one of these men know that.
Especially in today's day and age. Yes, the delusion that Sadia mentioned is valid. But how many 70-year-old sugar daddies are out there dating 23-year-old gold diggers? Proportionally, this is a very small subsection of the population, which means that it's not a very common problem. On the other hand, the delusion that I'm going to lay out here affects the average woman. And so it is a much more prevalent and significant issue. The delusion of the average woman has been culturally reinforced in a number of ways over the past 20 years. all of the most popular content geared toward women that has been produced in the last 2 decades reinforces this delusion. You see it in the Twilight series. You see it in the 50 Shades of Grey series and many, many others. The formula for all of these narratives is functionally the same. A rather normal and unassuming woman, against all reason or expectation and through no real effort of her own, becomes the object of a handsome, wealthy, powerful, emotionally mysterious man's intense, obsessive desire. He is everything a woman could possibly want, and he not only simply lays it at her feet, he practically begs her to take it from him.
You guys ever watch Korean dramas? Oh, listen, my young 16-year-old daughter, she got into it, and she would encourage my wife to watch it with her. So now my wife got hooked on them. And it's the same outline, the same script. The so-called boss of the company, what the hell they call him again? Yeah, but there's another word. Chairman, that is the word they use. Yeah, it's always the same narrative, man. The humble secretary or someone in a very, very low position in the company didn't know that it was the chairman, and she fell in love with him through some weird way. He got unconscious or couldn't remember, and he decided not to tell her that he was the chairman of the company or the owner of the company until the very last minute. You all know the story. And then, of course, by then, he's in love with her, and then she discovers that he's the chairman, and he reveals it to her. And listen, it's the same fairy tale BS. It's just the modern day fairy tale. And women fall for this shit because it's no different from Pretty Woman, no different from any other romantic comedy or any other movie that we have in the West as well. Against all odds, the best and the finest of the finest, the top 0.01% of men in society will fall in love with the lowly woman. You can't get more delusional than that, my friends.
I once stopped talking to a guy because he didn't buy me anything. So let me tell you something. If a guy likes you, he's going to spend on you. Any man that does not spend money on you does not like you. Take that to the bank. I have this friend, right? Birthday was recent, and I told him that he should buy me a dress. That dress cost 30,000 naira.
Most women rate themselves as a 10 out of 10, and I find it delusional. Not in the sense that you shouldn't love yourself and respect yourself and show gratitude for the things you have. To me, I just found it to be honestly shooting yourself in the foot and an impediment for growth and improvement. I love rating myself as a 6 or a 7, 6 actually, because I see how much work I have left to do. I see all of the things that I could still achieve, all of the improvements I could still make, spiritual, mental, physical, and to me, being a 6 is actually a great thing because it makes me excited to get better. It makes me look forward to the improvement, to enjoy the journey. If I rate myself a 10, what do I have to work on?
For some reason, this top 0.00001% of a man has decided to forego all of the options that would be available to him and to focus exclusively on this average woman. And of course, this averageness is by design. The protagonist kind of has to be average so that the consumer, who is also average, can more easily project her identity onto the character and experience the fantasy. If the character were very, very beautiful, for instance, that is, if she was the kind of woman these types of men are interested in accessing in real life, it would be more difficult for the average reader to see herself in the protagonist. We also see this delusion in the kind of Yas Queen culture that has sprung up over the past 10 or 15 years. You know what I'm talking about. Girl, you are the prize, and don't let anyone tell you different. You deserve the world. If a man doesn't recognize your worth, that is, if he doesn't give you what you think you deserve, then you have to cut him loose and move on. A real man knows how to treat a queen, etc., etc. Now, what has happened?
And of course, we can't ignore, you're a 10. No, you're a 10. No, you're a 10. You're a queen, girl. You deserve the princess treatment.
What you rate yourself from 1 to 10?
I'm a whole 11.
You above the scale?
Hell yeah.
What about in the real
I don't care
world?
about nobody else. In the real world, I'm a 10.
You know a 10 means perfect.
I'm perfect.
So there's nothing that you can change as far as your looks.
I got nice eyes. They real. This body is real. That's a problem. And
Okay.
I'm soft. I'm a 10. You look good. You look good. So I'm telling you, I'm a 10.
So people are telling you that you look good. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Those people, they was lying to you.
Ooh,
They was
that
lying
was
to
good.
you.
That
They
was
was lying
good
to
one,
you.
too.
You deserve another man's resources. Can't get more delusional than that. No man walks around thinking, I deserve Miss USA. I deserve Miss Sweden. I deserve to be with Miss Venezuela because I'm a 10. You don't hear men say that shit. Not even the wealthiest of the wealthy men think like that.
Is that the vast majority of women who, by definition, are average, now believe that they deserve a significantly above average man. And there is absolutely no basis in reality for this belief, which is what makes this a particularly female delusion. As I discuss at length in the book, relationships are formed when unequal goods of comparable value are exchanged. If the value proposition is too disparate, then no relationship is formed. And we know that in general, people tend to mate and date people of a comparable sexual marketplace value and attractiveness. This does not happen in reality.
Abso-freaking-lutely. It is not common or highly unlikely that someone who is a 2 will end up with a 7 or 8. It's the difference is too far apart. And it doesn't matter whether the male or female is the 2 or the 8. It's just too far apart. Usually most people who do meet up are usually 2 to 3 numbers apart. Because usually you might get a 7 who might end up with a 4. And it's usually the woman who's a 4 and the man who's a 7. Rarely it's reverse.
If I'm dating a man, I fully expect to be compensated. I fully expect all of my bills to be paid. I fully expect you to provide financially in every aspect. So that's why I only dated older and I only dated men who were willing to provide that. And it's like, you can't say like, oh, where do you find these men? Where do you find these men? It's who you surround. Like, if you're surrounding yourself with these fools, these hood niggas, you're gonna attract. So if you're hanging out in these hood clubs, these hood bars, you're hanging out with this person, it's like, why? How would you even be in the same room as the kind of man you want? You can meet them anywhere.
But most people are usually 5, 7s, 3s, and 5s. Usually it's pretty close. But anyway, my friend, I just thought I'd hit on this subject because I just thought it was interesting. And I want to make sure that other people hear this story as well, because Dr. Teraban is one of my favorite content creators, and this message should go far and wide. Of course, always go over there and support him and his channel. Of course, like this video on the way out, and remember to pick up my Content Creators Toolkit and check out the Digital Vault for over 8,500 pieces of content that could be yours today. Okay? So my friends, until tomorrow, remember, whenever in doubt, always, always ask an older man. I'll see you soon. Cheers.